Hello, and welcome to American Aaron Wargaming. This is a battle report for Modulorka, an orky skirmish game published by Mr. Modulorka. To kick the game off, my opponent and I draw a battlefield, primary and secondary mission, and a battlefield condition. We get walls for our battlefield, which will be interesting because we also recently realized that for 30-point games, which we do to get the whole thing played over a lunch break, we should be using a 2x2 board instead of a 3x3, so it's going to be a little tighter than usual. Supply drops is the primary mission, so on each turn victory points will rain from the sky to be picked up. Assassination was the secondary mission, and that'll be resolved shortly. Then, for the battlefield condition, we got Dead of Night, so everyone will start in concealment. I went with a less themed list today. I had Kapn, a rock star with a mecha claw, pistol, and cyber eye. I also brought along a gob tank, because tanks are great. Though we recently learned that on a roll of 6, any attack bypasses armor, which means that many more weapons are capable of blowing a tank up than we thought previously. They just need to be lucky. Then I had a W.A.R.G commandant with a standard bludgeon and pistol, but also with a cyber eye. I didn't know we'd be getting Dead of Night when building this list with all the cyber eyes in it, but that was fortunate. Finally, I had 3 rebel grots, 2 with pistols and bludgeons, and 1 with a rifle. My opponent's war gang was 3 lads with jetpacks, bludgeons, and pistols, and 1 had a grenade. Then there was a horde boss, also with a jetpack and a pistol, but sporting a buzzsword as his melee option. I randomly got the defender assignment for the assassination mission, so I assigned the commandant as the target. So if my opponent can kill him, they'd net 3 victory points. If I can keep him alive through 4 turns, then I get those 3 VP. I figured that with the ability to pass off damage to nearby rebels, who can also respawn, it seemed like a sound strategic decision. Then we set up the table, first with the required walls, and then with scatter in the middle of the board. And then we got deployed. All the jetpackers started well behind cover, because why not? The W.A.R.G clump started on the right side of my deployment zone, and the tank went with Kapn on the left. My opponent got the initiative for the first turn, and we were off. The supply drop roll for the first turn was a 5, dropping in quadrants on both of our sides of the board. That's at least equitable. Recognizing a golden opportunity for area of effect damage when they saw it, my opponent sent the jetpack lad with a grenade over and dropped it right on top of my commandant. 2 of the gobs got knocked out straight away, and the commandant was going to get hit as well, but he passed the buck right over to the one that had somehow avoided taking the damage. However, when a rebel dies, a new one will spawn in my deployment zone as long as I don't roll a 1. Which I did in one case. So 2 of them basically pop back where they were, but 1 is gone for good. My first gob to go tries to avenge his fallen compatriot, but misses. He also snags the victory points for safekeeping at least. The second jetpack lad plays cagier, moving up, picking up the dropped victory points, and staying concealed. My commandant is up next, and shows just why he's the boss around here, hitting the jetpacker for 2 damage. The next jetpacker overshoots his mark and barely avoids going off the edge of the board due to some precision pre-measuring. The final gob to go moves up, making sure to stay within 2 inches of the commandant, and knocks down the grenadier jetpacker with a pistol shot. The jetpack boss attempts to engage the commandant in melee, but undershoots his jump, landing 6 inches back and getting pinned. He takes a shot with his pistol, but the distraction from the malfunctioning pack gets to him and he misses. Kapn is up next, and with his cyber eye, he's able to ignore cover and easily plink a pair of damage onto the jetpack boss. The tank moves up slowly, needing 2 moves to get into a firing position. But that's a wrap on turn 1. For turn 2, the drop supplies land in the exact same pair of quadrants. Because they have to be placed as close to the center of the quadrant as possible, but also 3 inches away from all models, the second set was a bit trickier to find a home for. I'm up first in turn 1, so Kapn snags those drop points quickly, and then shoots another pair of damage onto the jetpack boss. The jetpacker, who is hanging on to the side of the map, unpins and takes a shot, but misses. I moved at the commandant and hit the jetpack boss again, leaving him with 2 HP left. Wanting to do something before he gets peppered to death, the jetpack boss unpins and misses the rebel in front of him, who in turn rolls a big 6 to hit and knock out the enemy boss. Maybe that little guy is a commandant in the making. The next jetpacker continues to play it safe, moving back and picking up another pair of victory points. The rifle gob goes next and snipes a pair of damage onto the only vertical target he can see. Then the downed jetpacker drags himself 3 inches, but without a healthy leader, he's got little chance of getting rallied. Then the tank moves up and coup de grace the boss, just to be sure. The end of turn 2 had things going pretty swell for me. 2 of the enemies down, and I've only lost 1 rebel gob. At the end of turn 2, the event is according to plan. So I got to choose between the Eclipse event, which would put everyone back into concealment, or Gust of Wind, which might end up blowing 1 lad and 1 rebel off the board. I opt for the Eclipse because it's already the dead of night, so that's pretty cool, meteorologically speaking. My opponent gets to go first in turn 3, and we roll another 5 for supplies, so the victory points land in both of our eastern quadrants again. Their first move is to head out of line of sight from Kapn and then pop the gob what shot him. However, he doesn't roll a 1 after dropping, so another similarly armed rebel appears immediately. He then moves back to the exact same spot as before, picks up the dropped victory points, and then tries to shoot the wounded jetpacker, but fails. Though after the game, I realized that respawned rebels arrive already activated, so he shouldn't have been able to do this, nor should the goblins that popped back in on turn 1 after they got grenaded. Ah, shit. That's a bad misplay on my part, and to my advantage. It wasn't cheating, I swear. Just thinking that I knew the rules better than I did, apparently. The other conscious jetpack lad picks up the newly dropped victory points and hides behind cover, knowing that there's basically no chance I can get to him there. Feeling a little big for his britches, the other rebel gob moves out of range of the commandant, snags the VP that dropped in our quarter, and drops another orc. He is going to be insufferable now. The Kapn and the gob tank move back to the western side of the board in case the supply drop lands in either of those quadrants next turn. And that wraps up turn 3. I forgot to snag a photo of the supply drop for turn 4, but it was only in my opponent's eastern quadrant. So the tank advances on the jetpacker carrying a pinata of points, but misses its shot. That remaining jetpacker scoots over, nabs the last set of VPs, and scoots right back into a safe spot. And then we called the game there. I had 9 victory points to my opponent's 8, and no way to get up to him and drop him this turn. So it was a win for me, though there is a bit of an asterisk on that, given that I got 3 rebel gob activations that I shouldn't have. The game definitely could have swung around based on that. Also the fact that my opponent failed 2 out of the 3 jetpack rolls they made. That's a far sight from the perfect round we had last time. But that's the risk you take for such a powerful ability. Those jetpacks are really good at getting lads right where they need to be. Most of the time. That's it for now. And don't forget, we's the best.